Serious, people who got a tattoo on your face. Why did you get a tattoo on your face? I got a tattoo on my chin so they could line up the lasers for my radiation treatment. If you look at it with a magnifying glass, it's a battleship. The only guy with a practical face tattoo in the entire thread. My dad has a bad back and has been declared unfit for work. This means that he can never get an official job, but the government will pay him enough money to get by for the rest of his life. He lost his wife and daughter 2 years ago. We had to move to another apartment. He still isn't allowed to work and I'm sure he is lonely. He eventually joined a gang and got a few more tattoos because it didn't matter anyway. He said he had nothing to lose. I used to have a small grouping of freckles under my right eye. They were super adorable and very distinct and I loved them. A couple of years ago I got into a fight with a man who thought it would be fun to wear a bunch of rings and beat the crap out of a girl he didn't like. I was hospitalized for a week and when the swelling went down, I was left with 2 chipped teeth, 20% hearing loss in my right ear and a wide scar over the freckles. Since, the scar has faded and it's only noticeable when I smile and the skin under my eye stretches. I can barely see the edge of the freckles. Now pale and hardly there, but I've come through a lot and been a long way and I want to get a tattoo to mentally remind myself that it doesn't matter what I'm missing. I'm still the old me. So next month, when I get my next big tattoo, I'm asking them to put the freckles back. That's actually really cool, and probably the best response I've seen in this thread. I have a facial tattoo, kind of a stylized pattern of 4 intersecting straight lines around my right eye. I'm a specialist in an unusual scientific discipline so finding work is not really a problem for me. The reason why, I guess I had it to mark myself after I survived depression. Each time I look in a mirror I remember how bad things were and how good things are now. It doesn't actually disfigure me as I am really ugly to begin with. Massive facial scars from an African bourgeois, and my pretty, highly intelligent wife for reasons that are beyond me probably has a Beauty and the Beast fetish. High pressure physics and as a white South African male of a certain age, conscripted into the Angolan bourgeois and had a fleeting encounter with a mortar shell lobbed near me. Late but legit reply. I have substantial tattoos on my face and neck. Started when I was 20 years old. I have some punk rock in my past for sure. Saying this since most people just know punk friends or something that have facial tattoos. But I grew up in a wonderful home with 3 sisters raised by my mom. My dad is an artist, more in the realms of rock and roll art and loves bikes and such but is also a super loving and awesome person. I knew around 16 I would get facial tattoos. I always had the thought process that it was something that made things different but easier for the life I saw myself in. To me I knew they would be a people filter, almost like a strainer that takes disrespectful people out of my life and introduces me to some awesome and interesting ones. I've been doing art since my early teens and show pretty consistently in galleries and truly love what I do. I also have been tattooing for 8 years now so I just set myself on a path that I permanently put myself on. I did the tattoos because I felt like there was no question what I would be doing with my life. I felt that I wanted to make things harder almost, like I could show people something positive from having them and being a solid person being someone who can help shake the stigma or maybe change someone's perspective. There is always the shock element as well. I've always been a pretty introverted and quiet person. This totally took me out of my shell and made me change a lot of things. They made people I knew were cool say something. Mind you, the double-edged sword is the constant sick tattoos. Bro, will you tattoo my face? On the SkyTrain transit. TLDR. I did them to make myself be more social, meet awesome people and set my career in art and eventually tattooing on a seriously dialed path. Plus the added bonus of being a nice person and hopefully changing some people's perspectives. I'm a tattoo artist pisser ends up being a lot of the responses in a lot of these threads. Thank you for going into the thought process. I know a girl with a star and a flower between her ear and eye just above the cheekbone. People see her as an utter weirdo but she's insanely smart. She's made a ton of money in sales and owns 2 flats. She said she got them to fit into an old crowd and she regrets it because nobody takes her seriously now. My cousin got a spider on the side of his face, somewhat Mike Tyson-ish, for reference, but bigger, to get my aunt, his mother, upset. Same guy that has my grandma's name with clouds and angels on one arm, and his mom's name with a graveyard, tombstones and bones on his other. I don't think he likes my aunt very much. My older sister has a face tattoo, not a huge one or one where it's even very noticeable. She has 9 tiny stars to the bottom left of her left eye. We come from a family of 10 and we're all pretty close knit, but we've spread across the US, so she got it to keep us close, to remind her that we're always with her. I got Mike Tyson's tattoo as a henna when I was fricked up in Cancun. We had watched Hangover 2 the week before we went. So, like buttholes, we were at a bar that had a tattoo parlor upstairs and he bet me I wouldn't do it and he paid for it. Crap was on my face for a week and everybody and their cousin wanted to take a picture with me for the rest of that week. A coworker has a tattoo of a dream catcher between his eyebrows. He told another coworker it was because he has bad dreams. Nice guy, way better employee than me. A guy I used to work with worked in a tattoo parlor previously and had been talked into it by his boss. Great advertising for his work, he said, which at the time I'm sure it was. 2 years later when the shop closed down and he wanted to change careers, it wasn't so helpful. This is the first answer I've seen, which is my boss made me do it. I have 2 tears tattooed on my cheek directly beneath my eye. I had them done a long time ago. I was proud of them once, but they now just serve as a reminder of what I owe to my community, my family, and myself. I knew a woman who had a 4-leaf clover tattooed next to her eye. When I finally asked her about it, she explained it was to cover up the swastika that she got tattooed there when she was a teenager and a skinhead. She covered it up for her court hearing after her and few others chased some black guys with machetes. That was not the story I had expected. I dyed my hair when I had a zit on my forehead, got a permanent dot. It has been a great way to track my hairline receding for the last 18 years. Knew someone in high school that got a tattoo on their face over the summer after graduation. It was some stupid tribal stuff sort of like Mike Tyson has. His reasoning behind it was that it looked really boss and he didn't care what others thought about it. I ran into a friend of his about 3 years ago and I found out that he can't land a decent job because of it. He said a lot of employers look at it as a bad decision and or don't want him distracting or deterring customers. I've always been a fan of tattoos and have many large pieces. I'm sure I will be covered if I live long enough. I've never been in a hurry and work on a large piece from time to time. All of my tattoos can be covered by standard formal attire except one. I have a star tattooed on the flat of my ear in white ink. I know it's not exactly what you are looking for. I wanted a tattoo that would be out in the open for all to see, but not screw me on any career opportunities in the future. Nobody ever notices it unless I point it out. In the metal hardcore punk community there are quite a lot of people with facial tattoo. Some of the people I know, one has his own ship and moves cargo, another one is a full-time vocalist vocal coach, one works as a tech something, and the last couple of people are all tattoo artists. In Hawaii, facial tattoos are actually pretty common, and people don't really care that much. Mostly, this is because there's a long history of facial tattoos in Polynesian culture, but also because the general culture is a bit less formal. That being said, I don't think words are tolerated as much as geometric patterns. If you have "frick you" written across your forehead, people aren't going to be super friendly or accepting of your decisions. Personally, I'm not usually one to judge much, but if you got a facial tattoo that isn't obviously something from your culture, then I'm going to believe you're not the brightest person and tend to not think about your decisions. That definitely means it's going to negatively impact your chances of getting hired by me. I don't even feel that that's at all unfair, because if you can't use someone's actions to judge them when necessary, what can you use? I did my dissertation on tattoos and the culture of tattoos for specifically this reason. It was a 15-minute documentary. I can add a link if you would like. Just ask. I have a friend in the same university that I was at, who is heavily tattooed including his face. Unfortunately I did not include him in the documentary. He is a motorbike enthusiast but a really gentle guy and wise guy. I think he also wants to break the stigma, but I never really talked about it with him. This needs more visibility. Yes, I'd be interested to see your work. I met a dude on a train once. He saw me reading a Hunter S. Thompson book, so we started talking. He had a shaved head and was covered in tats from head to toe. This was in the 90s when that was still fairly outside of mainstream culture. Awesome dude. We got drunk in the train station overnight on 40s from some ghetto gas station. I was returning home to start classes. I had a history class the day after the train got in. Turns out he was my professor for that class. He had to get back in town because he had to be there to teach. Was a pretty freaking cool class. A girl I used to be friends with posted a picture of her boyfriend after getting her name tattooed up the side of his face in big letters. I assume he wants to avoid employment. I asked my dad and he doesn't like talking about. He has 2 teardrops filled in on his face. I believe that means he killed 2 people? I don't know. All I know is that he also has a cartel looking thing on his hand. He came here at a super young age, and unless it involves family crap he doesn't like talking about Mexico. Oh, and he watches cartel crap all the dang time. I had my eyebrow shaved off so I could have a flying dragon tattooed below it. Now that it's grown back, you can only see a single wing above my brow, and the tail coming off the end leading towards my ear. Several years ago one of my best friends was murdered by another friend of mine who was drunk and claimed to be suffering from PTSD. It shook me, having never lost someone so close to me, and being unable to reconcile properly. I began a very depressed stage in my life. I got a teardrop in honor of my dead friend, not realizing what a big mistake it was at the time. I wore it for 2 years before having it removed with a laser. The only good that came from it was that I truly learned how disgustingly judgmental people are. Every day that I had that tattoo I received dirty looks, harassment, and almost lost a job. That was fine with other tattoos because of it. If you are white and have a face tat, you look scared and trashy, and if you are anything else you are a gangbanger or wannabe. That seems to be the general consensus. I had a professor in college who had full tat sleeves. He had them covered until about 3/4 of the way through class because he was afraid people would judge him before they got to know him. But people saw it the first day of class. One of the best professors I have had. Super duper late to the party, but I am a tattoo artist and I have fake moles tattooed on my face. Why? Had to get ours during my apprenticeship. Doing them and touching them up added little bits to the total without using my mentor station for too long. Just a quick observation here. Some people with tattoos tend to say frick the people who are put off by it or screw those people who judge me for my tats. A valid opinion, I am sure, but then aren't you judging those people in the same way that they judge you? You feel that you have a right to express yourself, and possibly your beliefs and lifestyle choices, through visual representation. I don't disagree with that. However, you should respect others' rights to express their beliefs by showing disapproval of that. I don't really care about tattoos one way or the other, but I understand both sides of the coin. If you have tats all over your face, you are making a statement to be seen by all. If all do not like your statement, please don't disparage them for their opinion either. So, I have a friend that has one and I asked him why he wanted one before he went and got it, and he said he wanted the attention. He regrets it now, but at the time he said he felt like no one was paying attention. He did get good attention after the fact, for a while. Because Nice was in a terrible accident while mixing chemicals that scarred her face up bad, so I got a tattoo on my face to distract people from her scars. I grew up in Papua New Guinea and had a number of friends with face tattoos. They were of all different things, some just dots or circles. One guy had a cross on his forehead. When I asked why they got them, they said basically it was just something to do when they were bored from being stuck inside during the rainy season. They would do them on each other with a needle and pen ink. It was not a big deal at all culturally. Most were older people and very well respected in the community. To be fair, they are much less noticeable on dark skin, but you can still see them. I have tattoos on my forehead and face amongst the rest of my body. I was a successful chef for around 12 years. I had a fine dining southern restaurant in Philly and was in charge of food production for 4 others. I have been in magazines and in TV as well published. The owners of my old restaurant were some of the richest people on earth. I decided I didn't want to be a chef anymore. I started working at Bungie Studios and video games. I didn't enjoy that like I thought I would. Now I work and help manage a security company for private events, bars, clubs, as well as doing security myself. I would consider myself very financially stable, extremely happy with my life and doing exactly what I want to do pretty much every day. But of course everyone with face tattoos are just low IQ criminals who can't read or write and have emotional issues or various other problems that would just drive us to mark such abominations on ourselves. That is, according to these worldly M in this thread. Oh yeah, to answer the question, I got tattoos on my face because I wanted to. Simple as that. I pretty much always do what I want and my life is pretty much exactly how I want it to be. Also all this while suffering from cystic fibrosis. Frick me right? I decided I didn't want to be a chef anymore. I started working at Bungie Studios and video games. I didn't enjoy that like I thought I would. Insider tips on Destiny. Now I have a teardrop under my hair on my forehead, was drunk and mourning my grandfather at the time. To be really honest, people who wouldn't be legally allowed to sign a contract shouldn't be able to have a tattoo done. For instance, if you're so drunk that you can barely walk straight, no tattoo for you. I got my eyebrows done, because I don't have much and they are very light anyways. And lazy and didn't wanna risk getting to brow happy and making them look bad. Now they always look awesome and I wake up with brows. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.